In this episode of Biblical Unlocks, we will go through a chapter of the Bible and make it make sense in your life today. Studies routinely show that reading your Bible regularly significantly lowers symptoms of depression, anxiety, and anger, whilst also increasing forgiveness, compassion, and a sense of purpose. So if you enjoy episodes like this, please consider following and rating the show. It's free, helps me out a lot, and you can always change your mind later. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Biblical Unlocks. Today we're going to go through Genesis chapter 26 actually. We're going to continue the patriarchal narrative through none other than Isaac. Yes, that's right. So we're going to go through continuing to talk about Isaac, and we're going to introduce a new character, Abimelech. So we have Isaac and Abimelech here, okay? So we're going to go through the entire verse, the entire chapter verse by verse, and we're going to understand the deep biblical unlocks afterwards. So let's read. Now there was a famine in the land, besides the former famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Gerar, to King Abimelech of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Settle in the land that I shall show you. Reside in this land as an alien, and I will be with you, and I will bless you. For to you and to your descendants I will give all these lands. I will fulfill the oath that I swore to your father Abraham. I will make your offspring as numerous as the stars of heaven, and I will give to your offspring all these lands, and all nations of the earth shall gain blessing for themselves through your offspring. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes." So, again, here what we're seeing, God is instructing Isaac to remain in Canaan rather than go to Egypt, which is actually contrasting with Abraham and Joseph, who were told to go to Egypt, right? And God is repeating the same Abrahamic promise of land, offspring, and blessing to all nations that he said to Abraham, right? So again, this is reinforcing and securing this covenant line, and signals once again that Isaac is the legitimate heir through whom God would act. Verses 6 to 11. So Isaac settled in Gerar. When the men of the place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister." Again, this is very similar to what we saw before. For he was afraid to say "my wife," thinking, or else the men of the place might kill me for the sake of Rebekah, because she is very attractive in appearance. When Isaac had been there a long time, King Abimelech of the Philistines looked out of the window and saw him fondling his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech called for Isaac and said, "So she is your wife? Why then did you say she is my sister?" Isaac said to him, "Because I thought that I might die because of her." Abimelech said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us." So Abimelech warned all the people, saying, "Whoever touches this man or his wife shall be put to death." So Isaac actually repeats the same strategy that Abraham used. So he tells the local king that Rebekah, who is his wife, is actually his sister. Again, this is motivated by fear. And something I just want to draw your attention to is that fear is, whilst we are told to have the fear of the Lord, having fear in this circumstance is actually equivalent to not trusting in God's plan and purpose for your life. That is to say that you think that you can control your life easily, and that is through thinking, right, that you are in control and you trust your thoughts. You're trusting your thoughts that tell you, if you don't do this, you're going to be in trouble. If you don't do this, you're going to they're gonna come after you. They're gonna kill you because your wife is really attractive. And again, when Abimelech confronts Isaac, the deception is completely exposed. And this is really important because this shows a common human tendency to substitute fear for faith. And it is true that whilst Isaac is depicted as a godly person in the Bible, even Abraham, Everyone has these slip-ups, and the reason why they have these slip-ups is because they don't trust in God. They trust their feelings, they trust their emotions, and they feel fear, and this fear causes them to do this. But you know where that fear comes from? That's right, the devil. Okay, let's continue. Isaac sowed seed in that land, and in the same year reaped 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich. He prospered more and more until he became very wealthy. He had possessions of flocks and herds and a great household, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped up and filled with the earth the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of his father Abraham. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us. You have become too powerful for us." So Isaac departed from there and camped in the Wadi Gerar and settled there. Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of his father Abraham, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham, and he gave them names, the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herders of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herders, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the well Esek, because they contended with him. They then dug another well, and they quarreled over that one also, so he called it Sitnah. He moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it, so he called it Rehoboth, saying, "Now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." Okay, so we see visible blessing, and then some conflicts here is essentially Isaac sows, reaps 100-folds, become wealthy. Now the Philistines envy him. They stop up his wells, which are symbols of livelihood, and again, covenant promise. Remember, every time we had the covenant before, we had the covenant with Abraham in Genesis 21. We saw Abraham's wells there. So this is, again, illustrating a level of covenant promise, a little bit of biblical cross-reference to something previous. Isaac moves again, reopens the old wells, digs new ones, names each one of them, and marks conflict, okay? And he finds a place to dwell. But the important thing to remember is these wells function as markers of God's provision, okay? They show something important about God's provision. That is those who resent blessings, those who are who counter the blessings or are against the blessings, even though they contest God's blessings, they are not the ones who receive it. Isaac was the one who received the blessings, and so this is important. So the interesting thing here is we have a little bit of theological significance regarding what a blessing is, right? So that is, when you are blessed, you often provoke opposition. People will feel jealous of you. But yet God shows his faithfulness regardless. You may have to be moved out of places because of the prosperity that you achieve. But that being said, God is still faithful nonetheless, and he's able to renew life-giving resources nonetheless. What does Jesus call himself? He's a spring of life-giving water. Read it in John, in the Gospel of John, when he's talking to the woman at the well. Okay, let's read the subsequent verses, and we'll be done. From there he went up to Beersheba, and that very night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you." Wow. Sorry, let me just repeat that. Verse 24. Did you hear that? Wow, that was so good. Genesis 26:24. And that very night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you, and will bless you and make your offspring numerous for my servant Abraham's sake." So he built an altar there, called on the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzzath and his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They say, "We see plainly that the Lord has been with you." So we say, "Let there be an oath between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, so that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed of the Lord." So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early, they exchanged oaths, And Isaac set them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well that they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, so this is Esau, he married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basmath, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. Very short little verse there at the end. I'll just go through each one of them. So we saw at Beersheba, God appeared and reaffirmed the covenant. I am the God of Abraham. I will bless you, so on and so forth. Again, this shows that Jesus, and I mean, we can talk about this later with typological references to Jesus Christ, but I am the God of Abraham. I am with you. Do not be afraid. So this is something we need to remember all the time. When you feel lonely, when you feel depressed, it's important that you recognize that your thoughts may say you're lonely, your thoughts may say you're anxious and depressed, but what we need to do is trust in the Word of God over, even though that is extremely difficult. It is important that we trust in God over our own desires, over our own thoughts. And that is to say that you will keep getting thoughts. They don't go away. It's just that, like in the same way you get spam email, right? You can ignore it or you can accept it. You can go in, you can press links, you can do these things, and that is what actually causes the problems. Receiving spam emails is not a problem as long as you don't take them to their final destination. We also saw right at the end, 34 to 35, Esau has marriages, right? He married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basmath, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they made life bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. So it's a very brief note, but he marries Canaanite women, and they cause sorrow, and it's important to remember something important. And this is something that's really important when it comes to relationships, biblical relationships, and that's the following. Your relationship with your spouse should bring both of you closer to God, not further away. Notice how that this marriage that Esau had, the marriages that Esau had, distanced himself from the covenant, distanced himself. The marriages that they had, the marriages that Esau had, distanced himself from the covenant and actually took him away from God. That is to say, is taking him on a different path. If you're both on different paths, you will arrive at different destinations, and this is important. So having a relationship and a marriage is more important than simply the attractive and the physical qualities. So that's it for this episode of Biblical Unlocks. This show is designed to help you keep up your habit of reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and applying it in your daily life. I upload daily, so if you don't want to miss tomorrow's episode, feel free to rate the show and follow. Otherwise, just have a blessed day. And always remember, if you're not in your word, you're in your feelings. Godspeed.